Good morning and welcome to the Belong Collective, to our digital gathering experience. I know this isn't perfect. We're not together. We're coming together soon though. February 13th is our first meeting back since the dreaded Omicron, and we are looking forward to it. So February 13th, Hershey Lodge, and it will be mask required. It's hopeful that we can have a safe meeting and a good meeting and actually be in each other's presence again. So mark your calendars. I skipped this, but the Belong Collective is an inclusive, Jesus-shaped community practicing the way of love for the good of all. We're so glad you're here. We're so glad you're either a regular at the Belong Collective or checking us out today. It's exciting to have you with us. If you want to learn more about us, you can go to thebelongcollective.org. All the information is on our website about who we are, what we're about, and all different ways to get plugged in, connected, to see what we value. If you want to support us, there's a way to support us there. And speaking of support, so many of you generously through 2021 supported the Belong Collective, even through a very different year, a year where we went back to meeting in person and then we went back to digital gatherings, and we kind of went back and forth. We also experimented with some Sunday fun days, which was a good time. So we're kind of all over the place this year. We know it was a very disjointed year. Honestly, the last 2 years have been very disjointed, but you stuck with us. You supported the Belong Collective, and we're incredibly thankful. So coming up by the end of this month, which means literally this coming week, you'll be getting an email in your box with your giving statements. You'll also be getting it mailed to you, so for tax purposes and such. If any of that is giving you problems, just meaning I need it now, Justin, can you email it to me now? Can you get it here quick? Can you some of you are very fast with the taxes and you need that stuff right away. Let me know, Justin at thebelongcollective.org. I want to make sure you get it. I want to make sure it doesn't get lost in the mail. So if you haven't received it yet, let's say a week after today, if you haven't received it in the mail or in your email or both, it will be coming to both, assuming we have your address. If we don't have your address on file, then what will happen is our system will request an address, and I can't mail it until I get an address. So make sure you're checking your emails, including your spam folders and all of that, because if you gave but you never gave us your address, we have no way of contacting you except through your email. And sometimes those emails, depending upon how your email is set up, can go to spam. So just make sure that you check that. We're excited that we're going to be sending these out and just honoring you and thanking you right now again for how you supported us in 2021 and continue to support us today. It's wild that the Belong Collective even exists, and it's your generosity that has made it even possible. We have a survey right now for the Belong Collective, as we're kind of hopefully going to be entering into a season of in-person gatherings more frequently. We want to kind of talk about some of the opportunities ahead of us, whether that is renting space. We have a ton of different questions on this survey. I think it's a really exhaustive survey. It'll probably take you about 15 minutes to fill out. We're really wanting everyone to fill it out. So I encourage you to go check that out. You should have got an email with it. We'll be emailing it out again. But make sure you check out the survey. We'll be closing the survey probably second week of February. So you still got a little more time to get to it, but we want your thoughtful answers. We really want to hear your feedback. We want to know where our community is in relation to some of the decisions that are before us, or maybe not before us in the immediate, but as we organize and vision forward for so much of what's been a challenge through this pandemic is that you can really only vision forward a month at a time. And I'm very much a visionary leader. I want to think a year, 2 years, 3 years ahead of time and try to create a plan to get there. And so as we are really going to try to be doing that, trying to think forward and build to what we want the Belong Collective to become, it puts us in a position where we want to hear your feedback. So to make sure that what we're building is something that our community collectively is about, and the realities of what we're building, meaning just, we can't do everything. So what do we need to focus on? What needs to be our priority? What needs to be secondary? I'm sure we have a variety of opinions on that, and that's part of the beauty of community. But we want to hear from you where you kind of stand. And so go tell us. Take the time to take the quiz survey. It's not a quiz. You're not getting a grade. Take the survey, and then at the bottom, there's even a spot for you to leave like comments and feedbacks. Maybe there's something you're noticing that we didn't cover, and maybe you see an opportunity, or maybe you see something that could be adjusted and done better, or anything. We're open to all the feedback. So make sure to bring your feedback into that and take some time for the survey. Again, thanks for being with us this Sunday morning. We're so glad you're here. Happy Sunday morning. We're doing something a little different. We're actually kicking off a 3-week series on gratitude. And this is intentional. I knew this was coming because last year in 2021, I was approached by a publishing company with the opportunity to write a book. And it's a unique opportunity because they had the title already, and they had like the I guess sketch of the idea of what they wanted the book to be, but they needed someone to write it. They didn't have like titles and stuff like that. They just more had like, this is kind of the book we're going for. What do you think? Could you work with us on this? We want like a gratitude devotional. How do you think that's possible? And I took some time to think about it, pray about it, and determine like, hey, this isn't really when I think of the book I would write, this isn't necessarily the first thing that comes to mind, but it was a great opportunity with an established publisher to work and to do this and to try it and to see like, hey, this will be a little like dipping my toe in, the publishing world, becoming an author, and like seeing if I like it. It's definitely been different. Writing a book is very, it's exhausting in its own way. Like revision after revision after revision, edit after edit. And it was really a hard project, but also a very rewarding project. And I knew there would be a day when I would get to bring it to you at TBC, and today's that day. I actually have a copy of the book in my hand. It came in the mail this week. It's a gratitude devotional for men. Now, really quick, just so we can say this. It's for men in the way it's being marketed, and it's written by a man. So I guess in that way, it's probably going to relate to men more. But really anyone can read this. I just want to be clear. Any of you could read this, and I think you would get something out of it. Outside of like some overly sport specific references, I don't think, and obviously women watch sports too. So I don't even know why that's, would be a manly thing. But anyway, it's for everybody. It's being marketed to men. But I say that just to say I'm really excited to be having this coming out February 15th, but to share through a sermon series here some of what I have learned while writing this, like from a more personal standpoint, but then also just a little bit about gratitude and why I think it's important. Next week, I'm going to be interviewed, so it'll be more like an interview context because I just want you guys to kind of know the journey, just more like conversational. This week, we're going to just talk about one of the stories in the book that I share and a passage of scripture that I share in that story. The way these work is they're like 5-minute devotionals pretty much, maybe a little more than 5, depending upon what you want to put into it. It's just a day at a time. It's 70 days. And I want to say this. I'm very hesitant to bring a book to this community and try to sell you my book. I don't make profits off the sales. That's kind of the setup of a new author. So I just want you to know that. But just so there's nothing like sketchy going on here. My integrity, I want to keep that intact. But I also want to say this just from a standpoint of, I know not everyone has the financial means to go out and buy a $13 book. Maybe they don't have the extra, capital in just their life right now. Maybe there's a lot of struggle and a lot of difficulty financially. And I just want to say, if that's you, I want to give you a book. And I mean, I want to give you a book, not the Belong Collective giving you a book. The Belong Collective is not covering the bill. I'm covering the bill. So email me, justin@thebelongcollective.org. If you cannot buy a book, and it will be between you and me. No one else will see that email. It'll just be between you and me. And get me your address, and there will be a book in the mail on the day that it comes out. I want the people in our community who maybe wouldn't have access to this to have access to it. If you're able to buy it and it's something you want to buy, awesome. But if you're not able to buy it and it's something you would want and something you think would be helpful for you, please email me. I will make sure you get a free copy. I put a lot of time into this. I think I put a lot of stories into this, even stories from some people within our community, some stories that you've maybe never heard me share before. So it's very personal. And I just feel like, pouring your heart into a project like this, and I just want my community to experience it. I don't want you to experience it for any kind of like personal gain other than for you just to connect with me in that way, and hopefully for you to also connect some of these concepts and ideas into your daily routine, or your just to encourage you. Like, I think gratitude is something that is challenging these days. We live in a very challenging and difficult world. I can wake up on either side of the bed, let's put it that way. And there can be days where I am incredibly cynical and down on myself and down on the realities of the world. And then there can be days where I wake up and I am like, yeah, let's go. I'm so thankful for all that God has given me. And like it can ebb and flow in the middle of a day, and maybe you feel that way too. And my hope is that maybe for 70 days, starting your day with this might be something that helps center you on gratitude, center you on a more thankful posture in your world. And yeah, I want to make sure that everyone in our community has access to this. So again, I'm just going to say it one more time. If you want this book and you aren't sure how you would pay for it, justin@thebelongcollective.org, let me know and give me an address, and it will be in the mail. I want to get you a copy. Okay, so for today, I want to share a story. It's going to be a short digital gathering today, because I just think this is something we should just actually more take the time to wrestle with than have me talk about it forever. But I want to share a story with you. So when we lived in Wisconsin, Magnolia was born, and then our Brittany was pregnant with our next son, our next child, our first son, Beckett, and I want to tell you about this 72-hour window where life changed fast, and the thing is, most of us can collectively relate to this now, because in March of 2020, life changed really fast for a lot of us. Like within a 72-hour window, like I remember when we shut down, not shut down, but when we canceled church, we were, many of you remember this, we were meeting at HMAC, and we were supposed to have our first Sunday at Appalachian Brewing Company on their second floor. And we canceled that. I think, I did not put this in the notes for today. This wasn't even supposed to be something I mentioned, but it's just popping in my head. I think it was March 13th. I could be off on that date, but I remember when I announced that we were not going to be meeting, that I said, we'll see about next week. We'll see about next week. Things changed fast, right? And we've been in the midst of that change now for almost 2 years. That's crazy to think about. And we've, adapted the best we can, and done our best to try as a community and as individuals to, journey through that with grace and gratitude. But it's challenging when your life flips so abruptly. Well, when I was in Wisconsin and Magnolia was about, I think, 2 years old, and Brittany was pregnant with Beckett, and she was, really close to delivery date. I would always come home from work, and Magnolia would greet me outside, and we lived literally right next door to a park. It was like perfect. Literally a row of bushes, walk right through the bushes, and there's a huge playground area where it was pretty much just our playground. Like everyone else in the community would be there from time to time, but at the same time, it was our playground. It was a pretty cool setup. So every day I would take her and we would go over and we would do the slide, we would do the swings, we would do things. So she's going down the slide with me like she does almost every day. Like this is something that is routine. But this particular time, and it was one of those steel slides that just goes straight down. This particular time, her Croc caught so Crocs like the shoes you wear, and they're really sticky kind of. Well, it caught the metal, and it's a warm day, catches the metal, and it brings her leg. She was sitting on my lap, brings her leg back into my hip, and twists her leg, and she breaks her leg on the way down the slide. Like the force and the speed of it breaks her leg, and I felt it. Like it was terrible and terrifying as a father of a 2-year-old to feel that. And immediately we're taking her to the hospital. My wife, again, almost 9 months pregnant. We are in a position of like, oh my gosh, we have a fairly independent 2-year-old that has now broke their leg, and we are expecting our second child. And so Magnolia breaks her leg. Can't get it casted that night. So we go back the next day, get it casted. And then we come home with a 2-year-old in a cast, realizing this 2-year-old who could walk everywhere, who was, fairly, again, independent, now has to crawl everywhere, needs way more help with random things that they didn't need help with before. Like getting dressed is a whole different chore than it used to be. She has a cast from her foot up past her knee. Like it was a wild thing to be like, this is terrible. But the doctors assured us she's okay. She's going to fully recover. So we're trying to think of the positive, right? Okay. So we're one day into the cast, and the very next day, my wife goes into labor. So we have broken leg, casted leg, Brittany in labor. The other aspect of this that you don't know is that I'm in the middle of completing my master's degree. And I have a paper due to finish my master's. And so Brittany comes down to the basement, and I'm typing on my paper, and tells me, contractions have started, I think, or maybe it was her water broke. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, it's time's coming here. And I'm like, all right, let me finish this real quick, this little part. And I finished the part, and we went to the doctor, went to the hospital. And then even after Beckett was born, I had to finish this paper off. This is like a big paper. I think it's like a 50-page paper. So like I had spent a ton of time working on it and needed to finish it up, needed to wrap it up. At the same time, I have actual work that I was doing leading up to that and in the midst of that. And so, and then, obviously Beckett is born, our son is born, and it's this like beautiful experience. So we have these like high highs and low lows through this experience. And then we come home and we're adjusting to going from zone defense on a child, even zone defense for a short period of time on a child with a broken leg, zone defense. This would be my sport-specific reference. Zone defense meaning 2-on-1, to where we are going man-to-man, and it's one-on-one here. And so it was challenging. Within 72 hours, there were so many things that were unforeseeable that took place. So many challenges. If you've ever said, "Oh, when it rains, it pours," you and I know that feeling, because I knew that feeling well, that 72-hour window, right? Like of like, oh my gosh. At the same time, there was so much beauty in that window, right? There's this passage in Thessalonians that says, "Give thanks in all circumstances." Give thanks in all circumstances. So like no matter what circumstance you're in, give thanks. I think about what I'm thankful for as I reflect back on that 72-hour window, and I think, man, life is full of joy and struggle, and they're often happening at the same time. And we usually choose to focus on the struggle because it's hard for us to find the things we're thankful for or the things we're grateful for or the gratitude in the midst of the pain. But as I reflect back, I think, man, Magnolia broke her leg, but that could have been much worse. She could have had to have surgery and it had to be set. Instead, she's going to fully recover. The doctors tell us she'll fully recover. And after, later down the road, she did fully recover. So in that moment, I'm grateful that this thing that could have been much worse actually is something she's going to heal from. I think of the fact that, I'm on my last paper of my master's, but I was able to hit send and I got a great grade on that paper and I have a master's degree. And even if I wouldn't have got a great grade on that paper, C's get degrees, Kids, don't tell your parents that I said that, but they do. And I didn't get C's. I got good grades. And I completed this big project in the midst of this 72-hour window. And obviously, I got to witness the miracle of my son being born and to hold my son for the first time in my arms. And the joy that is. The gratitude that I have for God giving me that moment. Like, what a moment. When we think about gratitude, the biggest question we have, and this is the question I want to leave us with today. This is why I don't want to talk a lot today, because I want you to really reflect on this. The question we have is, where am I looking? Where am I looking? Have I trained my mind and my eye and my heart and my spirit to look for the pain, to identify the pain, to connect with the pain? Or have I trained my eye, my spirit, my mind, my heart to connect to the beauty? Moving toward gratitude is when we choose to connect with the beauty. Not that we can't connect to our pain, because we have to. We have to acknowledge it and we have to feel it and we have to connect to it. But we can't connect to it so much that we forget all the blessing that exists in our life, all the beauty that exists in our life. So my challenge to you is to simply ask yourself today, amid all the nonsense going on in our world, where are you looking? Where are you looking? That's literally my prayer for you today. God, where are we looking? Tell us, reveal it to us, answer us, so that we might look in the places that lead to an outcome where we can say we truly give thanks in all circumstances. That's our call to reflect on where we are looking. So may you go today and reflect on where you are looking.